Chapter 153. Guiding Star. By the time the three of them were led to the grand hall of the castle, the news that there was going to be another challenge had yet to spread through the entire fortress. Because of that, there was no crowd there, just a few dozen people who had happened to walk past and heard the commotion. However, their number was growing with each minute. Standing before the entrance to the hall, Nephis was calmly looking forward, her thoughts a mystery. She seemed to be steady and collected. Sunny, on the other hand, was very nervous. Just what was Changing Star planning? Glancing around to make sure that no one could eavesdrop on their conversation, he leaned to her and whispered, "You're not really going to fight one of Gunnlaug's lieutenants, are you? Because that would be suicide." No matter how talented and strong Neph was, she couldn't hope to win against someone like that, at least not before absorbing enough soul shards to even the odds at least a little. Those people had not gotten to where they were by pure accident, too. They had talents of their own. Nephis didn't turn her head and simply said, "The walls have ears." Sunny gritted his teeth and was about to retort, but at that moment, the guard that had led them inside appeared from the grand hall, threw a dark look at them, and spat. "Come on in, fools." Changing Star simply walked forward, leaving Sunny and Cassie no choice but to follow. Inside the hall, a small crowd of people was staring at the entrance. When they saw Nephis, a wave of confused whispers ran through their ranks. "Who is that?" "Never seen her before." "There's something strange about that girl." The whole situation was much less ostentatious and theatrical than that on the day of Juby's death. Most of the lieutenants weren't even here, not to mention the Bright Lord himself. Only the leader of hunters, Gemma, was sitting on the steps leading up to the empty white throne. On his face, there was a slightly sullen expression. To Sunny's relief, Horus was nowhere to be seen. When the guard led the three of them inside, Gemma raised his head and glanced in their direction with a frown. "Did I hear it correctly? One of you three wants to invoke the right of challenge?" Nephis took a step forward, looked him right in the eyes, and answered in her usual indifferent voice, "I do." Her calmness was in direct contradiction with the heavy meaning behind those words. It was the polar opposite of the impassioned, scornful, furious speech of condemnation that Juby had given in this hall 3 days ago. The confused frown on Gemma's face deepened. "You do know what that means, right, little girl?" She continued to stare at him without showing any sign of fear, then repeated, "I do." The tall hunter sighed. "Listen. It is indeed true that anyone has the right to invoke the right of challenge, but throwing your life away is a really stupid thing to do. I'm sure that you had to suffer a lot to make it this far. Everyone here did, pretty much. So how about you think about it some more and reconsider?" Kor. His voice wasn't unfriendly. In fact, it seemed sincere, as though Gunnlaug's lieutenant really did not want to see her die for no reason. However, his words fell on deaf ears. Neph just tilted her head a little and said, "No need." Gemma sighed again, then shook his head. "Fine, have it your way then. Who are you here to accuse?" Sunny already had the idea. That's why he wasn't surprised to hear her next words. "I am here to accuse the Pathfinder known as Andal." Andal was the person whose crime had led to Juby's challenge, and then death. As another wave of whispers rose from the crowd, Gemma blinked. With an unhappy scowl on his face, he said, "As I've told the last time, I am the leader of both hunters and pathfinders. Any crime they commit while performing their duties is my crime, so I will be the one to answer for it. Are you sure you want to challenge me, kid?" Sunny held his breath, knowing that Neph's next words would decide their fates. Despite the older man's heavy tone, she did not even flinch. However, she did pierce him with a cold gaze, then slowly shook her head. "I'm not here to accuse him of murdering the young man from the outer settlement. I'm here to accuse him of theft. Andal has lost a considerable amount of soul shards while gambling, but refused to pay. That is stealing. Since it was done on his private time and not while performing any official duties, you have nothing to do with it." Gemma stared at her, a bewildered look written clearly on his face. Sunny was doing the same. "Well, that was unexpected. Kind of ingenious, actually. Who knew Neph can be so crafty?" By shifting the accusation from a crime committed during a hunt to a misdemeanor that had nothing to do with Andal's role as a pathfinder, she effectively prevented any of the lieutenants from fighting on his behalf. At least if they remained true to their claim of being just. But was a seasoned pathfinder any less of a threat than one of Gunnlaug's proxies? And would Gemma even allow a challenge like that to proceed? As though responding to his questions, the tall hunter raised his eyebrows and said in disbelief, "What? A gambling debt? You want to... Did Aiko send you?" Nephis shook her head again. "No, I've never even met her." Everyone in the grand hall looked at her as though she was insane. The charismatic lieutenant was no exception. With some exasperation finding its way into his voice, he asked, "If you don't even know the person Andel owes the shards, why are you here challenging him on her behalf?" Neff simply shrugged. "Do I need to personally know the victim of the crime to punish the criminal?" Gemma stared, clearly finding the whole situation ridiculous. "It's just a gambling debt. I can pay the shards myself and we all can." However, Changing Star interrupted him. Her voice was still inexplicably calm and even. "It's not about shards. It's about justice and law. After all, the law is our only guiding star in this dark world. Without its light, there's only darkness." Her words echoed in the grand hall and put a grim expression on Gemma's face. By repeating what Gunnlaug had said here a few days prior, she left him with little choice but to satisfy the request for a challenge. After all, going against it would be tantamount to going against the Bright Lord's will. How devious. Did she learn that from me? The hunter looked away with regret, remained silent for some time, and then said to one of the guards in a dark tone, "Go and bring Andel here. Tell that bastard that after he kills this stupid girl, he and I will have a long conversation about his life choices." Then he glanced at Neff and said, "And you? Say your goodbyes and prepare for battle." "Oh, right. What is your name? Tell us. That way you will at least be remembered." Looking him right in the eyes, Nephis stayed quiet for a bit, and then answered. Her clear voice resounded loudly in the grand hall. "I am Changing Star of the Immortal Flame Clan."